Hey guys, Asoka the Geek here. So, I just wanted to do a quick review of Wonder Woman 1984. I have my notes here on my phone, so if I keep looking down, it's because I'm looking at my phone for my thoughts. So, let's get into it. This is a spoiler-filled review, so do not watch this review if you have not seen Wonder Woman 84. Go ahead and pause the video, come back to it later, hopefully. But yeah, do not watch this review if you have not seen Wonder Woman 1984. Okay? So fair warning, we're about to go into spoilers. Alright, so my initial visceral response to Wonder Woman 1984. I really enjoyed it. I watched it, I liked it a lot. There's some parts I really loved. And at the end of the movie, I felt entertained and I had a really good time. So that's my initial response to it. So I liked it a lot. I'm going to go into specifics about what I liked and also what I didn't like. There's actually stuff that I did not like about this movie. This was not a home run by any stretch of the imagination. There were some interesting choices made, and some of it took a little bit of getting used to, which I'll get into in a minute. But just straight up, I like the movie a lot. I'm actually already started to watch it again with my little daughter. So I like it a lot. I'm watching it again. Okay, but first let's get into the stuff I didn't like. Let's start off with the negatives and then go to the positives. So number one, the biggest thing I didn't like about it was watching it from home. You know, I have a really big TV. I have like a 75-inch TV. I have a good sound bar. But I also have a little 20-month-old daughter, so I always have a baby monitor next to me in the night, which we're looking at and listening to for her. Then I have a dog who is very anxious, gets up a lot. So, I had hopes of making this like a movie theater experience. I was going to, hopefully sedate the dog and turn off all the lights and try to, make it a movie theater experience. I gave up on that pretty quickly. It's like, we're at home. There's no way I can make this like a movie theater, so I just sort of surrendered to that. So, the biggest takeaway from that is I really wish I could have watched this in a theater. The visuals were amazing, and I think they would have been much better suited to see it on the first time in the big screen. And I think that might have affected some people's opinions about the movie if you had seen it the way it was meant to be seen versus seeing it the way we're all going to watch it, most of us. So that's just kind of my general overall first criticism, which isn't the fault of the movie, it's the fault of this virus and the situation we're all in. But getting into the specifics about the movie. So, it's a very interesting plot. To me, it's an old school comic book movie. I would compare it to like a Batman Forever or Batman and Robin type plot. It's a very movie villain, comic booky villain plot to take over the world. He doesn't try to take over the world, but tries to influence the world. But it's a very old school way of doing these type of movies. I guess we're just so used to our movies, our comic book movies, being a little bit more, complex now with the villains and their motivations and things. And this villain, Maxwell Lord, does have some complex motivations. Not that complex, but and at the end of the day, I felt like he was literally a mustache twirling villain, which I liked. It was a throwback. Again, it was a throwback to like Batman Forever, which I love. I love Batman Forever. It's definitely a product of its time. It's a very kind of cheesy comic booky movie. But even that term comic book, because the movies we've been getting that have been the new comic book movies are nothing like Batman Forever and these movies. So again, Wonder Woman's kind of like a throwback to those type of movies, in my opinion. So that has its minuses because it was very convenience driven. Like when Wonder Woman gets that totem or that crystal, it just happens to arrive at the exact place Wonder Woman is working, where the cheetah actually works, and then Maxwell Lord, gets his hands on it. The whole plot was very, it was just very, again, convenience driven. It was very simple, too simple maybe. Okay, well, that's interesting that Wonder Woman happened to work there where that crystal showed up. I mean, usually in movies I'm not that critical about the plot. I'm just there to be entertained. But it was a little questionable. I thought that they might have explained it as, that crystal was drawn to her. Just because she's a god and the crystal is of the gods, maybe it was drawn to her, and that's how it ended up in her possession or close to her possession. That would have been an interesting way to explain it. And again, I don't need explanations about everything. In every movie, there's conveniences and shortcuts to make the plot work, and the movie hum along. The characters can't always make a logical decision, otherwise there wouldn't really be much of a movie. So it's not a huge deal, but I can see why people have a problem with the plot. Because it's interesting. It's like a throwback to an old Schumacher or a Batman movie. Okay, the time setting, the 80s. It was interesting. It was a cool version of the 80s, but I was born in 1980 myself. I was a kid during the 80s. I remember the 80s. I don't remember it being like that. I mean, obviously this is a movie version of the 80s. They definitely weren't going for like an authentic version of the 80s. I read some other reviews saying, well, they did this period because it's all about the excesses of the 80s and a promise of a beautiful life, and I don't remember any of that stuff. I was a kid, but whatever. Yeah, so it was definitely a very hyper version of the 80s. So I don't know. I think if you were going to set it in the 80s, you should have made it more like a Cold War thriller, like, and take advantage of the setting. Kind of like what the first movie did, was taking place in World War One. It was a very, I felt anyways, authentic version of World War One, not like a cartoon version of World War One. And they didn't do that with the 80s setting. They went for a more of a, again, like hyper reality version. So it was interesting. I gotta watch it again when I am watching it again, and I'll see if that affects me anymore. But it was just a weird choice they made. Okay, another thing I didn't really care for is Steve Trevor. Now, this is gonna be on one of my positives and negative side, but I see why they brought back Steve Trevor. He's great. Chris Pine, Captain Kirk, I love him. He's amazing. His chemistry with Gal Gadot is fantastic. So I see why they brought him back. But I also felt like, okay, he's been gone for a long time, and she's still like pining away for him every day. And that wasn't a pun, but no pun intended. Like, I told my wife when we were watching this, I'm like, if something happens to me, this is the type of reaction I want from you. I want you to be pining away from me for the rest of your life and being depressed. So, I mean, that's a very epic love she has for him. But I also felt like she seemed really too depressed still, like it happened last week. I think she should have had some healing by now. So it was kind of weird that she's still so hung up about him. I'm not saying she should have forgotten about him or that's not the love of her life, but I just felt it was a little much. It's been a while, so I thought she'd be at a better place by now. Especially being such an intelligent woman, like, at the beginning of the movie, when she first meets Cheetah, she talks about what department she's the head of. So she's very educated. I think she must have gotten additional education, being in the man's world since the World War One. So you think she'd be educated and probably went through some psychology, and I don't know, would be at a better place mentally by now about Steve Trevor's passing. So that I thought was weird. Let's see what else. Okay, the Magic Rock. I forgot the name of it. Again, it was kind of confusing how it worked. Like me and my wife both were kind of like, okay, so it gives you what you want, but it gives you what you want at a price, but you don't really know what that price is. I guess it's probably part of the plot, trying to figure that part out. But it was a little confusing at first. Maybe that was just me, but I thought what it did was weird. I guess I would have liked to see more of the God of Lies who made that rock. That would have been great if he showed up or it showed up. To maybe show us that it was pulling the strings. I don't know. It was just the Magic Rock was, I could go without it. Let's see what else. Okay, this is a very specific nitpick, which it was a nitpick, but also turned into something really cool. So near the end of the movie, when Maxwell Lord is in that thingamabob, talking to the world, and Wonder Woman's got the lasso around him, and they're going through like his past. The musical choice by Hans Zimmer was, I think it's called A Beautiful Lie. It's the opening piece of music from Batman vs. Superman. So as I was watching it and I started hearing it, I was like, wait a second, is that from like The Dark Knight or Batman Begins? And I was thinking about it because I recognized it immediately as a Hans Zimmer piece of music, but it took me a few minutes to realize that it was A Beautiful Lie from Batman vs. Superman. And then when I thought about it more, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. That's a really good piece of music for this particular scene. And it fit really well. But it was also very jarring because I'm a huge Batman v Superman fan. So I spent a few minutes just analyzing, oh, why did they do this? Why did they put that? Oh, it's kind of cool. So it just took me out of the movie for a few minutes, which I don't think you want the audience to do. You don't want the audience to be thinking about the origin of the music that's playing versus ignoring what's going on in screen. So that's a super nitpick. Probably only us, BVS nerds are going to notice that. But it was weird that they reused it. I did read in an interview with Hans that I guess they used that piece of music for the temp track. And then there was a discussion with Patty that, hey, why don't we just use this? It's from the same universe. Let's reuse the theme. So I liked it. I liked that they used it, actually. But at the moment I heard it, it was definitely jarring. And I think it would have been better if they did something original. I think when I watched it the second time, I'll appreciate it. But I do like that they tried to have some musical continuity with BVS, which is Wonder Woman's first appearance. So that was cool. Overall, the score is fantastic. Love the score. But that was a very interesting part. Let's see, what else? Okay, so those are my major nitpicks about the movie. So let's go into the positives, the things I liked most about it. So the opening. My wife did not like the opening, the whole part with the mall. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say this. Not the opening. The opening is with a young Diana in the Olympics on Themyscira, which is phenomenal. But I'm talking about the opening with Wonder Woman. My wife wasn't a fan with that, and the whole mall scene she thought was kind of cheesy. I loved it because it reminded me of Superman 3. If you guys remember Superman 3, that opening with Richard Pryor and just all those zany things that happen on the way to Clark doing a rescue. It was very reminiscent of that for me. So I loved it. I loved the opening. I loved Wonder Woman taking out the security cameras, seeing what she does with her lasso. She's more like Spider-Man these days. But I love that whole part. Speaking of the lasso, I love what they did with the lasso this time, where it's more than just something that makes people tell the truth. She can use it to swing on clouds and lightning. Those visuals were all spectacular. I love that she can now fly, apparently, which is from the comic book. She can fly in the comic book, so why not have her fly in the movies? So that was really neat, and especially the way they tied that to Chris Pine kind of teaching her how to fly. Also, the invisible jet. When I saw where they were going with the invisible jet, I paused it immediately, and I told my wife, OMG, they're about to do the invisible jet. And I love the way they did the invisible jet. So that was some pure nerd ecstasy, if I can use that word. It was amazing. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, phenomenal. She is such a great Wonder Woman. Even better as Wonder Woman, I think, in this movie than the first. Just her confidence, just her as Wonder Woman. She knows who she is now, even though she's still hung up on Steve Trevor. Just a phenomenal Wonder Woman, great actress, and I just hope she does a few more movies. I mean, this is already her second Wonder Woman film, already her fourth appearance as Wonder Woman, counting BVS and Justice League, but I think she could do another 2 or 3. I hope she gets the chance to, but she is a great Wonder Woman. Steve Trevor. So I said that it was kind of weird that Wonder Woman has not gotten over Steve Trevor yet. But I still like having Steve Trevor around. Chris Pine is amazing as Steve Trevor. His chemistry with Gal Gadot is fantastic. He's a great, kind of moral center to the movie. But again, it would have been interesting to see the movie without him and her having maybe a new love interest. There's so many characters to choose from. But I'm still glad he was in it. Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord. I think he did a great job. He was definitely all over the place with his performance, which I think was sort of the point. He played a great con man, great kind of bullshit personality, but still has a heart, cares about his son. I thought he was great. Kristen Wiig was phenomenal. My only complaint about Kristen Wiig was that we didn't get to see her enough, quite frankly. Maybe that was another problem with the movie. I think they could have just done a whole movie about her becoming the cheetah and facing off against Wonder Woman. I would have liked to see more of her, honestly. She was so great. She's obviously a great comedian, but she's also a great actress in general, and I thought her fight scenes with Gal Gadot were fantastic. Great action. Patty Jenkins is a great action director. She knows how to direct these action scenes. I love the chase with the trucks in the desert. That was really well done. Again, Wonder Woman flying through the air, using her lasso on lightning and clouds was awesome. The fight at the end with her awesome Alex Ross inspired Wonder Woman armor was amazing. It was great. I loved all the action. I think Patty Jenkins is a phenomenal director, so well done there. I also loved the overall message of love. And this is one of the things that's also a complaint and a criticism. I love the message that they're trying to convey, which is accurate. Wonder Woman is about love and helping people. You know, she's not trying to solve things with her fists all the time, which is why I think they took away the sword and the shield from this movie, because they wanted her to be less, I don't know, say warrior-like, but less aggressive with, you know, trying to stab people, I suppose. But I love that message. I think it was kind of not executed to its best near the end, but I love that's what they're trying to convey with this movie, and you feel it. You feel that's what they're going for, and their heart's in the right place. I love the color palettes. I made a criticism about this being a very hyper stylized version in the 80s, but I love the colors. They popped. Wonder Woman's costume just popped. The golden armor. When they're flying in the invisible jet through the fireworks, that was beautiful. Beautiful looking movie. And the last thing I loved was Linda Carter. Linda Carter, if you stayed for the credits, she's in it. She plays, I forgot her name, was it Asterix or something? Some Amazon warrior. She was awesome. Just seeing her in the movie was great. Would love to see more of her. So that's about it. Those are my thoughts. So as you can see, even though I liked the movie quite a bit, I still had my issues with it. I'm seeing a lot of pretty vicious takes on the movie, and usually, you know, I'm on the other end of things, like where I love something so much I don't see and I don't understand why other people don't. But on this one, I definitely see the complaints. And I can see it in the movie. Even myself, I have my issues with it. So definitely not a home run. They made some interesting choices. I hope that they will get a chance to make a third movie. I hope it's popular enough to where they do something else. Patty Jenkins, I mean, honestly, after the first movie and then even what she's capable of directing, I want her to come back, but they definitely got to do a more modern story. And I don't know, they need to definitely do a different take on her after this one. I think that's maybe one of the other problems. This was such a jarring difference from the first movie. The first movie was pretty serious. It was pretty authentic. It felt like a period piece. This one was definitely not taking itself as seriously, I felt, as the first one, which it was just jarring. You went from the first movie to this, and you're like, whoa, this is a pretty big difference. So yeah, but anyways, I'm just kind of rambling at this point. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Wonder Woman 84. I definitely recommend you watch it on the biggest screen possible. If you're lucky enough to be somewhere where the COVID cases are down and you can go to a theater, absolutely go to a theater. This is meant to be seen on the big screen. And I hope you guys had a nice Christmas and have a great New Year. And thank you so much for watching. Take care.